Hi, sorry.
Hi, you there?
Yeah,
Hold on.
sorry about that.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Whoops. Whoops.
Happy Tuesday. We are going to be discussing TREB release being February. TREB has been able to release the predictions for 2022, and they're not really that shocking, quite frankly. They're pretty much going the same way as they have been for now. Um, you are probably really tired of hearing about low supply, but it's consistently what is occurring. And go ahead, Cheryl.
I think the important thing is that things are coming to market and they're selling very quickly. And that's where part of the problem lies, because we have something and a lot of people are starting to put on their listings that they're holding back offers, and there's a lot of bully offers occurring
Yes.
prior to it. So people are trying to get a jump on it, and things are selling well above asking again. Condos, are selling like 102% above, or 2% above
2%.
asking,
102% of the asking
of
price.
the asking price,
Yeah,
right?
and that's something just before you go on that I think people should always be aware of. And I know I've said this before on our shows and in emails and texts and posts and everything. Be very, very careful when you're reading or listening that the percentage that they're talking about is not a price necessarily increase. It could be the number of sales. So, or the number of product on the market. So be very careful when you start quoting percentages.
Sorry.
Oh, you just froze.
Sorry, I have to plug my phone in because it wasn't charged last night because of the power failure.
Right,
so
right.
I'm just gonna plug it in. Hold on. Okay, you can keep talking.
It apparently was in Yorkville also, but I guess because we're on the south side of Bloor, it didn't affect us.
From the north side of Bloor up to Eglinton, and I think from Spadina over to
Bayview?
Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant, yeah.
Mount
Yeah, well, I'm glad everybody's got their
So,
power back, or
it's
some
charging.
do.
Yeah, it was a little cold in here for a while. We opened the door to the hallway to let the heat in. Anyway, it was warmer in the hall than in the condo itself.
Oh, wow.
But it's okay now. It's fine. Came on at 11:45, so it was okay. Not a problem. Anyway, going back to the topic that we're talking about, that people keep asking, is it a good time? Yes, it's an excellent time.
A very good time to sell. And then, of course, the combative sort of issue, though, is where am I going to go? So that's why you need to give Cheryl and I a call, or whoever is your preferred realtor. We respect that. And have that conversation. Or what are your options? Are you going to go right back into the market, or are you going to choose to rent? And that'll depend on each and everybody's individual family situation, because it is always unique. We know that. So, but the one thing I caution people with the choice to sell now because it's high and rent is just, we always say to buy and sell in the same marketplace from a place of safe investing, in your family and of course financially, etc. So don't try to beat the market, because we could tell you some pretty horrible stories of people trying to do that, and it didn't work very well. Some people it works for, and great, but I don't think they actually meant to really do it. It occurred. And we do see the prices only going up. And part of the statistics is that even our average price in Toronto is up again. I don't know the exact percentage, but I know that the average home price is now 1,242, something like that. It was 1,225 just last month, I believe, but I
It's
heard that it's up to 1,242.
793. I'm just reading it.
Oh, then it went up again.
Yeah. What they're really predicting from the Market Watch, which we follow from TREB, they're really feeling that it's going to continue to be a very tight market, even with the talk of the interest rates. It's not enough. If it goes to 5, 6, 7%, then it's different. But being at these low rates, it doesn't make enough of a difference. And then, of course, the people can always say that if they're buying, if there's a side entrance, they can rent out a basement apartment if they're able to give that space up to help pay for the mortgage. So, but really the averages are up. The detached, I'm just reading here, it said there were 476 homes. There were total 1741 detached in all of Toronto, but they're definitely up. And the only way to get into the market is you have to bite the bullet.
And also something we talked about in the past is get into the market and have a conversation with us or whomever you're working with and really crunch those numbers, because it might benefit you to buy something that doesn't fit your needs, but at least you're in the market and then you can rent something. This is a big number crunching exercise, and you should do it with a professional, more than one professional. You could reach out to Cheryl and I for real estate information, but then of course your accountant, your financial planner, whoever, your significant other, got to get all your numbers together, which is really, really important.
I think it's a good time to do it because we're all at least I am, starting to put your numbers together for your income tax. So once you do that, you can really see what your costs are, what you're spending, and what you can really afford to do. And it's important to do it with a professional.
Absolutely.
You can do so much on a spreadsheet by yourself, but let someone else really sit down with you and say, realistically, this is the money you have coming in, this is the money that's going out. It's a in and out situation, but
checks and balances.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. So then you know where you're spending your money, and if you want to buy something, where can you cut back? It's the old story, you can make your own cup of coffee for $1 at home with an espresso, or you go to Starbucks and pay $5 for the fancy coffee.
Wait, Starbucks is about I'm not a Starbucks person. I'm actually an espresso person, but it's supposed to be about the experience, they say.
Walk in and get a regular cup for $2 then.
And some people need to get out of the house, especially when we're all living at home. Working from home.
That's okay. But I'm just saying there's different ways.
Absolutely. Lots of ways
where
to
you
trim.
can cut back. So if you have to do it. But I think the important thing is that speak with the professionals, because they will really help you to know. And if you think you're going, as Samantha said, if you buy and sell in the same market, because you will get caught. Because we have had people, unfortunately, who sold their property, thought they would rent for a year or two. They thought it was going to go down. They wound up renting for many, many years, and the prices just kept going up, 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 up. And they wound up finally buying something, but it wasn't really what they wanted.
And
So it was a disappointment in the end.
And another stage of life to refer to with that, though, where renting might be more beneficial to you, is if you are going through a separation or divorce and the matrimonial home has been sold, and you've gone you're both getting different places, or maybe you're the one that's just getting another place for the meantime. You don't always want to buy in that circumstance, and that makes sense. People tend to be, from my experience, they really want to buy because they're looking for stability in their life. They're looking to be grounded at that stage of life. However, sometimes renting, to make sure, especially if you're switching areas, and or if you're switching from a house to a condo, you might not like condo living. It might not work for you. Or the exact opposite. It might work for you, but you need a little more space, or you realize, I don't need 3 bedrooms. My kids aren't coming so often. So there's all different things that occur at that life stage, which I definitely would say that renting might work in your favor. And if you by chance need a furnished rental right now, we seem to have one available in Yorkville while I'm at it. But I'm just saying that that is a life stage where, you might sell and then rent. And it's not so much about the dollars and cents, but more about where you're creating your stability in your new life.
Well, it may be easier if you're going out on your own, or even someone young living on their own. It may be easier to rent because are they ready for the responsibility of a home? Some people just say, no, I don't want it. I don't want to look after the grass, or look after a furnace breaking down, or air conditioning breaking down, or a roof, or windows, all the things that or the gardening. You just, some people are not willing to do it, or they don't have the time. Their job is too demanding. So renting could work for them for a while, but then eventually they should get a piece of real estate into a portfolio.
I wanted to bring it back to some of the predictions for the marketplace regarding condos in particular. So we saw there's definitely still a desire for large size condos. However, that typical marketplace was a little what do I call the word? Like, they didn't feel great. I can't believe I'm stumbling on my words here, but they weren't as comfortable in going out due to their life stage and age for a lot of people who are looking for the larger condos to downsize into. So the one thing that we are hoping for with this sort of supply and demand issue is that some of those houses that they might have come to market in the last 2 years, but have postponed it as we sort of navigate and get through, and everyone gets their shots, and the spread is not as fearful. Those people hopefully will be coming to market in 2022 if they've held off in 2020 to 2021. So we are hoping for that. It may or may not happen. But that will help.
You have to think also that there's so many new condos being built, and they're finally, because they're 3 to 5 year spans of being built, are now ready. So people will be moving in. So there will be more. It's not going to be an onslaught, but slowly there will be.
But it was definitely a marketplace that held back over the last 2 years, I think. And like I said, hopefully they're more comfortable now and they're ready to let go. But as Cheryl acknowledged too, there's all these buildings that they might have bought in the past also that are now ready. But that's a typical cycle in our marketplace that's always ongoing. Whereas the pandemic really, I think, put things on hold in a lot of different ways. So we're looking forward to that sort of life stage and the opportunities that those houses might offer, you know, whether they're move ups or first time buyers these days and stuff. So I think that's important to note. The other thing we were also talking about amongst colleagues was about the large size units are desirable. So if you have been holding on to a large size unit because you felt this marketplace who typically can afford them and is ready to move into them was on hold, it's a great time for you to come to market. I mean, anybody to market right now, but also this because the in the next month or so, maybe actually, I would say, because this group of buyers are more comfortable now. They've had enough. They're most of them have boosters, and they're a little bit more inclined to go out as long as they're not traveling anywhere. That's still our holdback. You kind of are like, oh, I'm not doing that. I just had plans canceled on me that were made like 2 months ago because they decided to go away, and they're not going away for 2 weeks after, but for 2 weeks they're hunkering down, as we say now, right? And they don't want to go out with anybody or go out to restaurants so that, you know, they have a clear test going south. So that's another thing.
I respect that.
Yeah.
I think that, but the city's going to open up, and I think that even there's people who are having open houses, and we had an example in somebody had brought up that they were planning an open house for the public, but then someone was in contact with someone and they spoke
Right.
to the seller, and the seller said no, put a hold on it. So, you know, you have to take each day at a time. You can plan something, but it could be canceled or postponed.
Yeah.
Because of
You have to be
COVID.
very adaptable these days. That's my new word for now. You have to be adaptable. The other thing that we didn't touch upon was this whole migration north that occurred over the last 2 years, and there'll definitely be people who will stay north, and you know they love it there and it works for them, but we do believe that Toronto is Toronto, and that's where our heart and soul is. That's where we are, and we do not pretend to know anything. Well, not anything. We know a little bit about the North, but at the very least, we would absolutely put you in hands of professionals if you are considering going north. We do highly recommend that you speak to somebody who works and lives in the area, as opposed to, you know, working directly perhaps with your Toronto realtor. They just can't access it. We can't service you properly from here. We're always happy if, you know, you have a relationship with us and you want our opinion. We're always happy to obviously chime in where we can, but we definitely.
There you go. Okay, sorry, you had cut out
Oh, sorry.
the
I was
voice.
saying we definitely refer to the professionals in the areas that they live and work in. So, if
It's much better
yeah,
that way.
I
I
think
think
some will move back south though. I
there
think
are
there'll be a
people
bit of a move.
there are people moving back closer because they don't want to do the drive back and forth or go on the subways and everything. So even by working at home, they still want to be closer to be able to walk to certain amenities and be in the city. So there are more and more people returning to the city. They're willing to give up space for location.
I think also there's a lot of professions that rely on their networking, and networking in person is really different than networking on a Zoom or just chatting with people on social media and different things. So I know I'm definitely looking forward to our in-person networking or open houses even. we've got a property coming to market in a few months that's going to be fantastic in an amazing area, and we'll definitely want people coming through that physically, because I think one of the experiences, much as people have told me they have sold homes and condos and different things online, sight unseen, I guess it's just who I am and who Cheryl and I am going to speak for her here together are. We truly care that you feel right in your home, and I don't believe you can feel it from a video as well as you can physically being in the home. And plenty of times clients have told us, buyers in particular, have told us that this is what they want in a home. Okay, so we listen, we show them, it doesn't, the words are, it just doesn't, it's not the one. It doesn't feel right. And there is a difference. Sometimes they walk into something and it doesn't have what they said they wanted, but it felt right.
Sometimes it's also people think square footage, but you have to get the number out of your head because, like you say, you walk in, if the room sizes are right and the layout is right, and what the house has to offer can erase that square footage out of your head. So I think it's just look at the space, don't think of the number, don't get bogged down by that.
Yeah.
It looks better.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I'm looking at the time, Sammy.
You have an appointment.
I have an appointment. I have a conference call. And everybody, if you want to list, you want to buy, you want to sell, call the Graff Girls. We're here
to help. Invest? Did you say invest?
Whatever you want to do. You want to rent? Want to go for a drink? No, just
you want to chat? It's all good.
We're all good.
All good. Anyways, happy Tuesday. Stay safe, stay warm. And,
happy Valentine's Day on
Monday.
Monday. Right.
And next week, Cheryl will either be on with a guest or we might do it later or earlier something. And maybe we'll time.
Because you're on because
maybe we'll have Steve on because I'll be with him.
Yeah, if you're in the airport.
We are going to a family law conference in New Orleans to educate me even more.
Good. Sounds good.
Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.